Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So we're about to return to season repeats. And a lot of sentiment in the community has been really interesting to actually observe and watch. If you were to basically watch some of the YouTube videos or read some of the sentiments about the decisions that are being made about the game, you would think that this is the worst game on the planet because, sometimes I think that you get overreactions. Sometimes they're legitimate, but in some instances, I think they're over the top. You'll see it across the community. So it's left to you as a gamer or someone who plays the game to just decide for yourself if you're going to play the game based on the decisions that are made. Inform yourself. Don't let somebody else's hype or feigned disappointment, lead you astray. So just pick your own path, choose it, and walk it. And I'll even emphasize something that I've seen also, and I'm going to use this video to pretty much depict it because it's quite funny, even to the point of just bordering disingenuity, just the way some have reacted. And I think it's important that we showcase these things because on the cusp of these new seasons, you've also seen the reverse and the opposite. Some people have actually said, it's nice that I've been able to, that I'm going to be able to get the season rewards that I missed out on. Now, the developers opened up and said the reason that they're doing this is specifically because, they just need a little bit more cadence from the community so that they can, have their new content that they're working on bringing later down in 2021. They can have that be finished while players have something to do. So we're going to be getting more season reruns. To me, that's actually perfectly fine. And I say so because for many folk, I think sometimes we forget to take breaks from the division as well. I don't know life the division, by the way. In fact, the year the division came out, I was heavily making much more detailed content. And even at the same time, I adopted another game that came out a month after the division that actually sold better than the division actually. So I've actually tried my best to follow that game and the community because I actually do play the game a lot. That's Mortal Kombat 11. And interestingly enough, the way they also do their end game content, because the game is mostly PvP, is they were doing seasons. And in their whole seasonality and one of the releases of their last DLC packages where they brought out some new fighters, Melina, Rambo, and Rain, the developers actually announced, and I missed this back in November, that they were going to be repeating the seasons. And the reason they wanted to do so was so that players who missed out on the past seasons could, were able to actually get those rewards and those skins from those seasons. So basically, their goal was just to be able to serve the player base. Whereas in the goal of the developers here at Ubisoft, it's just a matter of perhaps time, misdirection, maybe, the effects of COVID basically hitting them. Who knows exactly what all the factors could have been. But it's really interesting, though, to see that, even the reactions from both communities was also somewhat similar. But in the case of the Mortal Kombat community, I went on their Reddit just recently and somebody basically kind of put this little, I would say, reminder. And it says, I feel like it just says reminder, Combat League season repeats will still have new gear and brutality. So they're adding a little bit of, some new items there in order for people to be able to leverage, the old items, and for people who already played the seasons, they can still come back and still, garner some new items as well, some new brutalities, whatever it is. These are the seasonality things. Actually, Mortal Kombat brutalities are actually rewards. I know it sounds crazy, but this is something that, I've done all the seasons in Mortal Kombat 11. And funny enough, in the division, there's some seasons that I barely even got through. And, like I said, I don't know life the division. I basically take a lot of breaks while playing. But what's really interesting is if you were to judge the way that the season repeats in the division was actually handled, you would think that the division is basically the devil of video games. And that's not necessarily, because everyone in the community is against this. No. I think there's a loud portion of the community in many cases, and I probably will get, some flack for this, that is very much in tune with only, calling out everything that they in their minds deem I would say unsatisfactory as the worst things ever. And they somewhat project that this means that the developers are terrible. This means they don't know how to make the game. They kind of mix this weird, terrible conundrum, together and make it seem like the Division is the worst game with all the worst practices ever done or, out there. I mean, in the face of games being canceled, in the face of games not receiving any continuation, we are getting more game modes. And when I say games being canceled and not receiving continuation, I am pointing at Anthem. While we here at the Division community are only, I would say our only inconvenience is that we wait. And still, I mean, I've seen this sentiment, and I think it's really funny in some sense. And in some sense, I just feel like it's a little, I would say disingenuous. And, it is what it is. I mean, people are going to say whatever it is that they want to say. But at the end of the day, who does this serve? These seasons, how do they serve anybody? Well, if you think about players like me who are shameless division fans, I mean, I will say it anyways, anyhow. I have my biases towards the division. Every human being has bias, by the way. I saw somebody criticize me for saying I'm biased, and I laughed and said, well, you're biased as well. We all have our biases. It's just who's the first that's going to admit it. I mean, apparently not you. After playing the division for 5 years, it's very hard to not have a fondness to the game. It's a game that's basically been a part of my life and even my family for years. My children play Division Agent dress up. That's just how Division is really, pivotal to our household. So I do have some level of bias towards it. But at the end of the day, it's nice to at least declare that bias and leave yourself open to accountability, and then also try your best to, bring things to light from a reasonable aspect. And so I think the seasons are going to serve some people. They're going to serve people like me. I just started a PlayStation 5 character, and I pretty much did not play any single season on that account. I have a second character on PC that I actually started out for some reason. I was going to basically, use that character to kind of experience what a solo player goes through. And this was a challenge given to me by the community. So I started that character. I gave the character a random weird gamer tag, because I just roll with my regular gamer tag, and people see me. Sometimes they know who I am, sometimes they don't. And I used it to kind of maybe, run in just solo missions, or even run in group missions where I just got treated like any other gamer. I didn't want anybody to say, oh, yeah, they were going to give me any kind of preferential treatment or whatever it is. And so that character didn't even play, I would say 90% of the seasons. So that gives a lot more playtime for players like me. And, yes, it's a little disappointing. I'm not going to lie. I really did want a year 3 that was along the scale of what we got for Warlords of New York. I wanted a level cap increase. I thought these things were going to be delivered. But then at the same time, I look again at other studios and see what they're doing. Now, the developers over at NetherRealms, their work is also very challenging. Their game is a PvP game. Their game has a competitive focus, and they have to also make a lot of different balances as well, and also develop some level of, introductory content to get their story and their lore as relevant as possible to make the game what it is. So they also have a hard job to do, and nobody really knows how all of this stuff must have affected them. Maybe they finally saw this as a smart way to go. Maybe Massive is actually copying them, because like I said before, this game was released in the same year that, the Division 2 was released, and went on to be actually much more of a success than the Division. Not too much more, well, kind of significantly. If you look at the charts for 2019, Mortal Kombat 11 came out number 5. The Division came out as number 9 when it came to sales. And so, yes, they did receive a lot of success. So I bet you there are many studios that are looking at exactly what it is that they do. And I won't be surprised that the folk over at Massive kind of got the idea and said, what are we going to have our players doing at the meantime while we're not able to deliver them new content? And perhaps somebody came up with the idea and said, why don't we do season reruns? Now, I don't know when this decision was made, but in the case of NetherRealms, they seem to have their own act together way ahead. This was in November 6th when they did their own combat cast, which is kind of like their state of the game, and that's when they announced it. So, like I basically, will iterate over and over again. As a division agent, you just have to take, all the information that you get, pick your own path, and pretty much just roll with it. Because sometimes it's interesting to see the reactions as nothing short of over the top. Sometimes genuine, concerns are clouded by a lot of this sentiment. And I can't help but just, basically lay it out in a video like this, and just, iterate more and more why it's very important as this community to continue to inform ourselves about the game. So just wanted to go, throw that out there and say, season reruns are what they are. I'm not saying that they're a great thing. I'm saying they're just an unfortunate thing that we have to take because it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it is not literally the worst thing ever. I mean, just like some people may say, oh, it's terrible. Well, whatever. Another massive, huge game franchise that's basically older than the Division is implementing this, and no one is having an aneurysm over it. So know, this is one of those really interesting topics to discuss. So let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Oh, it's probably going to be interesting. Talk to you all soon. Peace out.